It's a real privilege to open up day 2 of SAP Forum in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And as I understand it, this is the second largest gathering of SAP customers and partners in the entire world. But as I walked around and spoke with many of you yesterday and had rich conversations, what I realized is it's much, much more than just size and scale. That what really is enjoyable is to see the passion and the energy that you bring to the topics that we discussed yesterday, and the energy that you have to understand and the urgency you have to bring that understanding back to your businesses. I think that's what makes this event so special and this culture so special, and I think that that's a significant advantage for Brazilian companies. And yesterday was really fantastic, and we listened to Christina, and we listened to Jennifer, and we listened to Mala talk about innovation and transformation in digital, and how these topics can help businesses today compete in the businesses that they're in the industries that they're in that are hyper competitive. How do they become more efficient? How do you grow your revenue? But also, how you can reimagine in this disruptive world the businesses and the business models that you may need to be in tomorrow. And it was really insightful to listen, but what really got me excited was when I saw the light bulbs go off in many of you when we put the entire conversation in the context of industry. Because understanding the language of your business that you speak is the industry language. And this is not new for SAP. Because we've always found industry to be the language where we can translate the application and the benefits of technology in a meaningful way to help businesses identify and solve problems and grasp and realize opportunities. And this goes back from the very beginning, right? In the world of ERP, where we understood industry by industry what that technology meant in terms of the business processes that ERP could enable. And this extended through the world of mainframe computers and client servers and the internet. And I'm going to suggest to you that as relevant as it has been in our history, it is even more relevant today to use industry as a contextual mechanism to understand what's going on in this world around us, in this hyper-connected, increasingly digital world. And that's what I'll try to share with you in a few minutes here, and certainly with the customers that I'm going to talk to today, is the power of industry. So, one of the great joys of my job is I get to travel the world. And I get to spend time with large and small customers across a wide variety of industries. And if I could summarize the main topics and questions that they want to understand, it's, Pat, what is going on with all this stuff, with all this technology? How do I make sense of it? And also, not just make sense, but there seems to be heightened sense of urgency to apply this technology. And so I'll give you a very simple answer that I share with them. What we see happening is the rapid maturity of all these technologies simultaneously. So that all of these technologies, by themselves, and in combination with each other, create a combinatorial supreme value opportunity that can be applied to business. What we also see is a rapid logarithmic shift in the cost of these technologies that is happening, which is making all of these technologies affordable. And we're not talking about small shifts, we're talking about 300 to 600 times cheaper. This applies to your computing, your storage, cloud. If I were to use how this cost structure is affecting industry, take a look at just DNA sequencing. This process took decades of smart scientists and $2.9 billion to sequence the first DNA. Now I can swab my gums and take a saliva sample and submit it for analysis. And for less than $100, I'll get my own DNA sequence. And this scale, this affordability is having a profound impact on applying that to a wide variety of use cases, particularly in the health field and personalized medicine. But it also has far-reaching impacts to industries like agribusiness and how we can grow crops and reduce defective strains of crops that can feed a growing world. If we take a look at just autonomous cars are not a new idea. Going back to the 1930s, there were visions of cars that could drive themselves. But the issue was viability and affordability. A few years ago, it took $60,000 to bootstrap a car with all the technology that could tell the car what was going on around it. And today, that technology is in my Audi Q7. It already comes standard. And now it becomes pervasive. But it's not just the application of these technologies to business, which is profound, but it's also how it's changing the world around us, which shows the huge impact and why this wave of transformation is different. And so I was speaking at a SuccessFactors conference in North America 2 weeks ago. And if you take a look at a study that McKinsey did with us around industries, in roughly 60% of the industries around the world, up to 30% of their employee base could be fully automated with the application of this technology. And because this work is highly manual, that actually can touch up to 50% of the workforce in the world. And what this means in economic value is roughly $15 trillion can be unleashed for productive use. To not only help businesses become more effective, but to invest in the new businesses. And this is critically important. But also, what we learn from history is, and especially the wave of this innovation, is as disruptive as this can be for actually the workers. Actually, in a broader way, it's hugely opportunistic. And all we have to do is take a look at the last disruptive trend in the US alone and realize that roughly a third of the jobs in the United States didn't even exist 15 years ago. And in France, when the internet started, it was all about losing 500,000 jobs. And what they realized 5 years later is it created 1.8 million jobs. And so if we take a look at the application of this technology to business, right, and our global economies, if we increase productivity in the world by 2%, by 2035, we will not have enough people to address the work that we will create. And that's the bold, big news, and it's all happening right now. So, I've been fortunate to spend time here in Sao Paulo for the past 3 years, and I wanted to continue what we see in industries in a continuum. And last year, what we talked about is digital disruption happening, not just in some industries, but across all industries. And we also took a look at, despite the fact that most CEOs, 90%, knew that digital was going to impact their business, less than 25% actually had plans. And so a year later, what do we see? We see, first of all, that many of these businesses now actually have plans. They are doing something. There is a bias for action. We also see that what drove the early adopters of technology 10 or 15 years ago in the industries that were closest to the customer, there's been a wake-up call in industries that said we have to get closer to the customer. So we see massive projects and massive initiatives around customer intimacy. But what is really interesting in this area is, let's take a look at insurance. And in the world pre-SAP Leonardo, the way that insurance companies actually assessed risk was looking at attributes of people in a risk pool: age, sex, income, location. The law of averages, which was all we could do at that given point in time. But by applying digital tools and using SAP Leonardo, we now can actually measure risk and insure risk in autos based on driving behavior using IoT and sensors. And that's where this customer intimacy conversation is going. But what we actually see is not just the focus on innovation in the front office. What we see in the past year is a recognition that you must innovate across the enterprise. This is what Malo was talking about, bringing innovation to scale in the enterprise. And so topics such as omni-commerce, which are new business strategies for retail, for financial services, for many industries, don't just involve engaging with customers in the front office across multiple channels and creating a great experience. It's not about communicating, it's about delivering the experience. And to do that, you need to innovate in all of your business systems across the enterprise. And this is the message that SAP Leonardo is bringing: innovation to scale to enable the proliferation and application of business strategies like omni-commerce. And this is definitely becoming more widespread. So, as we take a look at the emergence of enterprise innovation, we still must focus on the customer experience. But we have to understand what is the new context for innovation, and that's where SAP Leonardo really comes into play. And to bring this sort of into a really sharp focus, I want to share with you an example that I just learned last week in Mexico when I got to spend time with 30 executives, right, of the largest businesses in Mexico. And one executive that I spent time with runs a pharmaceutical industry. And the innovation based on the DNA example I shared with you is now instead of producing pharmaceuticals for a general population, they can increase the efficacy by delivering specific, personalized medications to treat a personal reaction to a disease. This is the personalized medicine. But it's not just the innovation, it's how do you scale that to make it profitable? And what you realize is that innovation changes everything because the shelf life of that drug is no longer weeks or months, it's hours. And to scale that, you have to change the way you manufacture that product. And so they're moving their manufacturing facilities closer to the hospitals, in fact, even co-locating in hospitals. It changes the way that you work your supply chain and your logistics and your warehousing, because you're not building to scale and shipping to scale with trucks. You're actually building and manufacturing lot sizes one and delivering on bicycles and in Uber cars. It completely changes the logistics. And so in order to realize the scalable benefit of the innovation that we see happening, you need systems of innovation that recognize innovation at scale. And that's the SAP Leonardo message. If you take a look also, let's see if we go. The other thing that, that I see happening is when I spend time with customers, they want to understand not about what's going on in their industry today, but what is my industry going to look like tomorrow? What's happening and how do I get in front of that power curve? But they also realize that in the world of digital disruption, in new value chains that are emerging, in new business models, they know that when we look at the new business model, it's going to create new opportunities, and that may be in industries that I'm not in today. So a deep understanding of what's going on in the industries around me, and also the blurring of these industries. And how the topic of not just how do I compete against others in my industry, but actually to pursue new business opportunities enabled through innovation, I may need to partner with value chains in my industry to create the new opportunity for the customer of the future. And a great example of that is here in Brazil, where they're leading this topic around agribusiness and precision farming in the binding of chemicals companies, in industrial manufacturing companies, in CPG companies, in agribusiness companies, into holistic entities that can create farming of the future. So this is really exciting and really dynamic. We also see this examples in smart cities. So new smart cities like in Dubai, where this mass urbanization is happening around the world, particularly in developing and emerging countries. But how do you create the new experience for the citizens of the future? By taking a look at how you provide safety and living conditions and sanitation conditions and in building and in traffic. It's cross industries working together to create a new experience for customers. If we take a look at the port of Hamburg, one of the busiest ports in Europe, they want to double their output in the next 10 years from 9 million containers to 18 million containers. But they have no room to expand, so they have to be more efficient at a massive scale. But this means that they have to make shipping more efficient, and trucking more efficient, and rail more efficient, and deliveries more efficient. And they have to work with thousands of businesses to become more efficient. And they're using SAP Leonardo in the logistics hub, working in partnership with Deutsche Telekom and IoT sensors to be able to monitor in real time and communicate in real time across an ecosystem so that you can drive efficiencies at scale. And Hamburg, by doing this, is able to double their capacity in a fixed landscape with the massive ecosystem by coordinating it through this innovative platform called SAP Leonardo. And then just one last example I'll give you about how industries continue to change through the availability and the viability and accessibility of this technology, and that's connected cars. So we know, because I spent some time with a large auto manufacturer in Europe whose brand is safety. In the analog world, the world of automotive today, it's how do we prevent or make sure that you survive an accident. That's their brand. But they intend to launch a autonomous fleet of cars in 2021. And they're going to bring that safety value proposition up to the level that says, we will actually insure and prevent any loss associated with an accident. We are going to be in the world of zero accidents. And when they say that, they increase their value proposition, but it also has a challenging effect on the insurance company. Like, where does insurance go? Is the auto company now the insurance company? But also their mission isn't just safety. Their real mission is quality of life. And if they can reduce the amount of time behind a windshield going to and from work, they feel that they can free up time for customers as the magnitude of 2 weeks a year. So now they work in the car, they have a captive audience, and they're able to develop partnerships. Now, are they an entertainment company? Are they a retailer? What new partnerships will emerge? These are the new business models. And I use these examples in the conversations we'll have with customers to say that these aren't science fiction. These aren't theoretical, abstract models. These are actual business strategies that are happening, and they're now starting to happen at scale. Right? So at SAP Industries, what are we focused on right now? Back to our heritage. We are focused on understanding the world around us, and we want to try to define and communicate what are the new business processes that are emerging in these industries across the enterprise. And if you take a look at this, it's roughly taking that magnificent technology framework, which is about 20%, and 80% of new business processes that we're working on in a customer intimacy model and delivering that thought leadership and that prescriptive guidance for our customers. And this is very much aligned with what Mala talked about yesterday, which is the dynamic systems of innovation that SAP Leonardo represents, but also the customer intimacy model, and being able to bring industry into that discussion through the accelerators so that we can jumpstart and apply innovation at scale. But we know that becoming a digital company is an objective that we all share, right? Applying this technology. But we know that it's tough and it's difficult, and we also know that every journey, while similar, is very different, right? And so today, what I'm happy to do is get into the meat of this conversation, and it's what's happening with our customers. How is this happening in the business today? So I'm very excited and fortunate to welcome 2 companies from the consumer products industry, right, that are going to share their feedback on their journey. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Matthieu Grymonprez, who's the Chief Digital and Technology Officer at Leroy Merlin, to the stage, and also Neste, who's the Senior Vice President of Information Management and Technology at BRF. Gentlemen, Matthieu. Thank you, gentlemen. I tried to make this as intimate as a conversation we can have while providing accessibility and visibility for our audience. So why don't we begin? And as we talked about, it's obvious that innovation is happening around us. And in the discussions I've had with both of you this morning and also last night, it's very, very real. So I was just wondering if I could ask each of you to describe a little bit about your company, how you see your industry changing, and what is your strategy to address this?
Para nós, na Leroy Merlin, Leroy Merlin é varejista de material de construção, home center, e a gente está presente no Brasil desde 98 e somos líder no mercado. A digitalização para nós mudou realmente a abordagem do cliente, porque todos os varejistas sabem aqui que os clientes consultam enormemente os websites e tem informação de produto muito avançado, até às vezes melhor do que o próprio varejista. Então a gente vê que mudar nossa abordagem sobre essa informação, trabalhar com os fornecedores, por isso que a digitalização vai até a cadeia de suprimento, porque quem tem as informações de embalagem, peso, qualidade de produtos são os próprios produtores desses produtos. Então a gente trabalha uma multidimensão da digitalização. Parte de abertura Open Innovation com nossos fornecedores, através de portal de fornecedor, e tudo parte de omni-commerce, que hoje, vou dizer que é mandatório. Hoje, daqui a pouco, o omni-commerce, a capacidade de comprar em qualquer canal e entregar a mercadoria do outro, vai ser uma commodity. Todos os varejistas têm que fazer isso. Então, a gente trabalhou muito para que nossas lojas sejam totalmente digitalizadas. Nosso projeto de transformação tiver alguns incentivos fortes, deles é o Mobile First, por exemplo. Hoje, todos os consumidores têm mobile na mão e fazem todas as compras no mobile. E achamos que não é normal que dentro das lojas não aconteça a mesma coisa. A gente não pode ter uma distorção entre o mundo físico das lojas e o mundo virtual onde vivemos hoje. Então, todo o nosso trabalho era redesenhar via design thinking, via várias metodologias de UX, toda a abordagem do cliente através da mobilidade. O último alvo é de ter todas as funcionalidades de uma loja dentro de um celular. Que eu propus pessoas trabalhando na loja para fazer qualquer coisa com o celular. Então isso te força a repensar seu negócio, a essencializar, porque um dos aspectos mais complexos é que o tamanho da tela é menor. Então você tem que repensar o que eu vou propor de informação, o que é mais relevante, o que é necessário para o cliente, como eu combino essa interação entre um vendedor especializado, porque comprar piso, comprar coisas de casa é um pouco complexa, e ajudar o cliente, mas com informação tão relevante que ele precisa. Uma estatística importante para nós que mostra nossa digitalização: 80% dos nossos clientes vão nos websites antes de vir na loja. Então é um número gigantesco, praticamente a grande maioridade. Então a gente precisa uma interatividade seamless entre a experiência feita no website e na loja. E a grande dificuldade, na verdade, é treinar as pessoas da loja, porque as pessoas da loja se acostumam a ter essa resposta interativa, tanto com as ferramentas, mesmo nível de informação. O grande desafio vem para nós varejistas.
Yes. It's quite exciting, and when we had dinner last night and we were talking, you're actually doing this, and what I felt was really relevant is the roles that you play. I just described one role, but I know that you're the CIO, you're the Chief Digital Officer, and the Chief Innovation Officer. So I was just wondering, actually two questions. Why do you consider it important to lead those three business areas? And how has the role of technology or IT or the CIO changed based on your transformation in the last 4 years?
A gente tive 5 anos atrás grande traumatismo com a TI. A gente teve vários problemas e isso fez que o board da empresa entendeu que tem que mudar a abordagem com a tecnologia. E o primeiro dele é considerar a tecnologia como um parceiro estratégico e não mais como uma função suporte ou um service provider. Então, isso criou uma cultura dentro da empresa onde a parceria se joga igual entre os business e nós. E a gente se autoajuda na construção. Por que eu acho importante que a TI está liderando isso? É porque nos inícios do e-commerce era mais o marketing que estava liderando a parte digital. Só que o marketing é muito focus na parte do customer, do cliente. E, como você falou durante a introdução, é a cadeia inteira que tem que ter digitalizada, para ter uma coerência estratégica completa da digitalização da empresa. Então, o papel da TI é justamente se mudar de uma TI, vou dizer, antiga, ligado à governança, à IT, etc., para uma TI business partner, realmente uma TI que só fala business, que procura soluções de business. E hoje em dia, várias soluções que a gente acha no mercado têm funcionalidade que a gente não implementa ainda dentro do nosso business. Então, nossos especialistas de TI têm capacidade também de apoiar com ideias de business. Então, é muito importante hoje de ter essa parceria de pares, de iguais, entre o business e a TI.
And you talked about based on what you've delivered and how you've inspired the business, it really has changed the level of trust that you and your organization has with the CEO and with your board.
Yeah.
And I think you also talked about how that inspires your team.
Yeah, sure.
Because you have to develop talent, you have to attract talent.
Com certeza. Uma parte importante é que, graças a algumas novas metodologias como o Design Thinking, o Agile e o UX, prototipagem de novos aplicativos, isso ajuda muito a TI a conversar com o business. Então, a gente não fala de bits and bytes anymore. A gente discute de o que é o objetivo de business que queremos alcançar, mostrando o protótipo. E as metodologias ágeis permitem também de entregar coisas mais rapidamente. Então, o negócio ele não faz mais uma prova de fé com a TI, tipo, vou fazer um BBP, esperar um ano que talvez vai chegar o meu resultado. Não, a gente trabalha com backlog muito rápido, em 2 semanas, 4 semanas, Então, o negócio vem as coisas acontecer. Então, contribui a criar uma confiança forte entre nós e eles e criar uma parceria olhando o que está necessário de fazer.
I've become so absorbed in this conversation, and maybe I'm becoming absorbed into Brazilian culture, but I am way over my time limit now. But you can see that these are expansive and really meaningful conversations. So I would just like to close by asking you to maybe comment on anything I've asked or share some thoughts with the audience. And maybe, what does success look like, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road in your business?
Para nós, o sucesso no futuro vai realmente estar voltado ao controle e apoio ao cliente a realizar o sonho dele, mas através não somente entregar bom produto de qualidade e disponibilidade de produto, mas na parte de inspiração, nas partes de escolha de produto e na parte de realização. Então, realizar uma transformação até a solução que o cliente quer, porque hoje tem vários tipos de clientes. Antigamente, o cliente fazia as obras deles mesmo, ou negociar um pedreiro sozinho do lado deles. A gente hoje quer realmente que toda a realização por qualquer tipo de pessoal, um cara que não quer desenvolver nada da casa dele, ou outro que quer fazer tudo sozinho, a gente tem a solução para ele. Então, isso é o mais importante para nós. E essa integração com todos os nossos fornecedores, o ecossistema, os profissionais dentro da nossa plataforma é uma coisa que vai mudar a vida da Leroy Merlin também.
Well, on behalf of SAP, on behalf of our customers and partners who are here today, I really want to thank you for spending your time and with emotion and experience your examples of what you're doing in your business. And so we really treasure our relationship, we treasure our friendship, and we look forward to continuing to work with you to realize the visions and the expectations that you've laid out. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.